This is very real for me. I do write about the paranormal on a regular basis, so this is also research for me as well. All right, cool. Thermal imaging. So you guys should be able to see me in that camera. I'm the red, orange, and white guy in there. Sorry, dude, but that usually means I'm the hottest guy in the picture. So, especially when I got a group of ladies, I got to play to my strengths, man. So what this is going to do, who can guess why we're using this in a ghost hunt? Why would we want this? Temperature. In which way? It goes hot or cold? Cold. We're looking for cold spots. Literal. It's the old adage. It is true. So I will teach you about thermodynamics, whoever is using this throughout the night. And it is recording. You will get this full recording back. We're going to do starts and stops with it, Will, just because as great as the hardware is, because this is a FLIR Pro 1 used by firemen, the software sucks. So if we record for too long, we lose all footage. So I will direct him on when to start and stop.
Are you the guy?
He's going to be the guy.
This is very exciting. Okay.
So with that, there's also a blue dot that you'll see bouncing around your screen in your video tomorrow morning. That blue dot is the coldest area in the frame at that moment. It's just kind of helping direct our eye on which way to look, even though there might be something going on somewhere else. I only spot check this video, so I don't watch the full length. We're going to record probably a good hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes total. And again, for every 5 minutes, I watch about a minute of it. So again, I'm spot checking it so you can have more fun. If I find something, I'll give you the marker of where I found something and what it actually might be. So you're going to keep this horizontal just like this all night with the camera on your left. That's the wire side. People don't like their cars being filmed, just so you know, and people also don't like being filmed.
Now he's going to be filming the cars the whole time. I'm just kidding.
At that point, I'll say let's be a little bit more casual, and you'll simply drop it like you're holding a cell phone, acting like nothing is going on whatsoever. So again, it is very fun to watch, but we're going to try to do two things with the camera. You're going to try to keep a person in view because we're going to be the warmest thing inside the video. So that's going to give us that array of color when we're looking at it instead of it bleeding out. And also you're going to try to keep the sky out of view. The sky is not a surface, so that blue dots that I referred to earlier will default to go to the sky and won't show us any actual cold spots that are going on. And we are going to be able to prove and debunk things in real time based on his device that he's going to be going with. Let's get the other camera out, just so that I can balance things out evenly. Different than the thermal. So first off, quick demo. You should be able to see me in this little tiny screen. I know it's hard, but I should barely be able to see me in there. We're going to turn on some lights. I should now be in a pinkish or purple hue, depending on your color blindness. So with that, we're working with light you cannot see with your own eyes. You can't see it coming out of the camera unless you're looking through the viewfinder of the camera. So the hope here is that we're going to be able to see things that we wouldn't normally see with our naked eye. This is a relatively newer device. So with that said, it's still in process. I only have a few things. Are you okay? Yeah, I went to sneeze and I coughed at the same time. Is that a snuff? But this is also one of those devices where the files are very large, so we're going to do starts and stops with this as well. And again, this screen is very small. These videos that I splice together for you, even though they're starts and stops, I still put them all together for one, so you'll have one thermal and one infrared camera video as well. And it will have some starts and stops in it just throughout one video. But again, these files are giant. So again, in order for it to process, we'll do starts and stops with this as well. The average for this, we usually get about a half an hour to 45 minutes for the footage out of this. And it is difficult to see, but I take that video and I send it to YouTube, so you can watch it on your phone, your tablet, your TV, your computer, whatever you want. You can even download it, so it's yours. This is an easy job, so I'm going to hand that one off to you. It seems like you were a little bit worried earlier. So it's going to be fun.
Brand new, no pressure.
No, hey, Rand. It's brand new.
The camera brand. I've had it out for a few months. I've only captured a few things with it where I'm like, oh, what is that? So we're going to be working with several different types of spirit boxes tonight. So what the heck are spirit boxes? Spirit boxes are ways for us to communicate with the dead. This is a radio studio. So we do all of the other radio on your TV shows and your YouTube videos. This is the white noise, and then your host tells you on the screen what he thinks he heard, trying to convince you of the same thing. We're going to be doing this in real time. So this one in particular is going to go through all of those stations, but at a much slower rate. I have it set that way on purpose. I want the radio chatter to come through. So songwriters, DJs, commercials, anything you can make out, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're discussing, or something even going on with one of us. Sometimes you guys bring people with you and you didn't even know it. Happens all the time. So we're going to be using 2 of these tonight. However, this one's going to record the entire session for us. I have an SD card in this one, so you get the full recording back. Again, I'm going to review it. Even though the person that's using it, I will be writing down everything that they hear tonight in real time, so that goes into your notes, but I'm also going to review it every 5 minutes. I'll review one per minute. The cool thing about what I'm going to do with all of these reviews on the spirit box is that if it's relevant to the location, a person, or one of us, I'm going to tell you why and give you a link to verify it. It's not because I told you, it's because it's actual history, and you need to see some real proof. You guys are getting a real antsy down there.
Oh no, I just have foot problems.
Right.
I'm just excited. Sorry. Working my favorite picture.
Right, this is my favorite device. So this one's going to go to you. You will have an earbud. In real time, it's going to be the only one that can hear it. So that's why I write down whatever you hear if I feel like it's close to you. Okay? You can, but you'll probably want to focus more on this one because it is difficult to listen to. So we have another style, and I'm going to discuss that one here shortly, but I like to get these ones out and up and recording beforehand. So instead of earbuds for you, my dear, no problem. Nope, not that. Well, I usually ask it. So when I ask you guys to get here between 7:45 and 8 o'clock, I do that on purpose, so that way I can kind of characterize you guys up and see where my chatty Cathys are, where's my people that are humble, that really quiet folks. Like, I really look for those things. I'm a writer. You're all characters.
What are we?
Not yet. All right, so you have one button to worry about once you get that guy plugged in. There's a volume button at the very top of this. You control the volume, so no matter how high or low it is, tomorrow morning's recording is going to be nice and even, so you can up and down it all you want to.
It'll record it.
At a nice even one volume, not your volume. So again, most people will basically have one earbud in, so that way they can hear me as well. At the third volume, you can turn it all the way down so they can hear me, then turn it up when you're actually yes. So. Who wants this? Who wants the other? To listen.
I do? Okay, I'll do it.
Yours is not going to record, so we're going to have to rely on you, whatever you
So I
hear.
can't talk. I can see just listening.
No, we want you to talk. We want to know what you hear.
If you have video.
We want to know what you listen to. It's just not going to record for all the data tomorrow. That's the one she has. She's the brat to
So
be.
I feel stressed about what I'm supposed to listen for exactly.
And I'm going to talk you through that. That's okay. This is not an easy job.
And I'm the person.
So I'll plug it in for you. It's free. You just have to take the twisty tie off. And the volume for you is going to be right here. It's a wheel, so don't hit the button. Yours isn't really going to mess it up. I'll just have
But
to...
I don't need to put the earbuds in yet.
No, not yet. Most people just keep one in. That's what I just told her, so that way you can hear me, and that way you can play with the volume back and forth as you wish.
Okay. Got it.
That's it.
And that's a spirit box? Okay. That was something I would like to hear the most.
This is a different type of spirit box. So this one is a phone app. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what it actually does. It's going to give us a word from time to time in the center of the screen. So then it's going to save all those words into a list. So last tour I did had 60 terms on their list. Here's what I want to tell you about this. This is a phone app. 80% of what you have here is absolute bullshit. Doesn't mean anything. The other 20% of it is so specific, it's almost undeniable of what it's actually doing. So, with that said, I don't want to see the list popping everywhere that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see the list, and I'll hit that white button right there, and we'll be able to scroll through it.
What is that app called?
That was called Ghost Hunting Tools.
We live right next to a really big conglomerate. Seymour Hospital House.
We swear our house is not.
You're my multitasking. And the reason why this one's going to you, it'll make more sense here in just a second. This is called a melding. So what does this guy actually do? It's going to measure 3 different types of things. On the TV shows, you guys all watch the TV shows. I know I mentioned this several times, but they usually have like the EMF meter with the blinking lights. Oh my God, something's going on, kind of thing, right? So we're going to be measuring that in digital format. Your big numbers at the top, anything above 2.5, I want to know what that is because on the TV show, it's usually the second dot that indicates something might be nearby. We're going to debunk it first. Man-made objects like cell phones, wiring, and buildings might make it go off. We're always going to debunk it first. The bottom number is ambient temperature. We'll find something on his camera. You and I can figure it out by this probe at the top if it's an actual legit cold spot or if it's something coming from a man-made object of some sort. The last thing that it has is it has what we call a REM pod. So a REM pod is built into this guy. So if something actually goes near this, and wait for it to settle. So when you turn it on, it's a little hairy. The gist behind this is if something gets close to the antenna, it will go off. The closer it gets, the higher it's going to go. We'll talk more about that in our first location. Pressure on here. So there's a lot going on with this device. So again, focus on the 2 red numbers. The top one is basically electromagnetic fields. The bottom one is temperature. And you get the very back.
I was like, he says the best for last.
Sorry, so their names are different, so they're on. Again, I'm the writer, Emily and Byron. So you are going to be, helping her out. Basically, her camera can see a lot of different things. Lasers. So, why are we using lasers on a ghost hunt? So the whole point behind this is that we can see the laser, like the dots on the ground, we can see the pin in my hand, but you can't see the actual laser until something passes through. Emily's camera can really see these lasers really, really well. So I also try to hand these off to the most responsible person in the world because lasers get taken a lot of trouble, and this isn't an all the time thing because there's going to be some busier areas. So, but with that, we're going to be using 2 of them. The second one gives us red squares. The cool thing about this one is that it's the same principle when something passes through it. However, if we capture something on the camera of something passing through it, I can take that still and put it in 3D software, and we can see the full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
Are we gonna be like be talking on the way, like maybe we see this and this and this, and then we'll review? We don't have to wait to know anything until you review all the footage, right? Or we know something's in lifetime.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
a lot of the lifetime stuff is going to come from spirit boxes. That's why I try to hand out so many of them. So, and I even have another one. We're just not going to use it tonight because I wanted to get the lasers out. So again, this one you have to hold the button on, and then this one has a toggle switch. So you have to be careful because if you decide that you don't want to have that on anymore, you have to flip it off. So we always keep them on the ground and maybe up to 3 to 5 feet in front of you, and that's it. And we don't cross the streams. That Ghostbusters joke. So the whole point is we want to try to see. Somebody got my Ghostbusters joke.
She has never seen Ghostbusters.
Shut the front door.
Today. Yes.
So the whole point behind this is that we're basically creating 2 triangular lasers, and the wider the scope, the better off the chance we're going to have. And you don't need to hold them out. You can be relaxed, just nice out in front of you. So again, most people try to walk around like Frankenstein. And again, not all the time with these guys. So again, I'll kind of give you the cue when it's safe to use lasers. You can't mess anything up. You're here to have fun. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah. So I do have a little notebook in my side pocket, so I will be taking notes throughout the night on everything that's going on. So you guys will see me like, all right, what'd you hear? And you'll see me writing things down. What was our readings? I'll be writing things down. Because there's certain things here that don't record properly. But everything else, you'll obviously have everything back in the morning. I also wanted to give you a fair warning. You have the thermal imaging camera. I do have hot hands in my pockets. So if my pants look hot in the video, it's because I forgot my gloves. And I need to keep my fingers nimble. So I just wanted, you're going to see that in the thermal imaging. Like, why are these pants really hot? So, my wife loves all these jokes, by the way. Let me tell you. All right, so let's kind of talk about why we're here and why we started with Big Jumps. So, and you don't have to worry, you're not recording this yet. Okay. I know you can just be relaxed. Yeah, you don't need to be focused on me all night. Yeah, you're good. Yep, and that's how it usually goes. You have Eliza already? So, Big Jumps. talk. Oh, any concerns at this point? Okay, we're going to talk about this. Okay. Alright. So, Big John was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his ball, obviously, his name. He used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets that coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. We have the bartender. They leave pretty pissed off. Come back the next day, and John sees them come in, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. That's where they kept the cash register. That's real smart, right? So he gets up and he starts pounding these guys into the floor, beating the hell out of them. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets hit in the neck, and the bullet ricochets and lands in the wall. John gets up after being shot, and he goes back to the bar, and he tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor, and ambulance. So, moral of the story is just don't mess with Big John. However, nobody died in that story, so it's haunting the place like we think it's haunting an actual ghost. The bullet hole is allegedly still here, even after possibly the renovations of the Big Johns we now know. However, even if the hole is not here anymore, Big John's blood is in this building. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to have a little headache, queasiness, nauseousness. I've even had people go to dinner there, come back and say, the steak was great, I just couldn't finish it. I'm like, why? Well, I wasn't feeling well. Let me tell you why you weren't feeling well. So, they sat in the front of the bar, and that's usually where it happens. This is your heated warning, because fingers crossed, we will be dealing with paranormal activity tonight, and I do not know how it's going to affect you. I've had people pass out. I've had EMTs call. Can sometimes be a rough tour, especially for psychics and mediums. So, again, it happens. Has to. We'll see what goes on. Keep an eye on you. You already mentioned something. Let's not talk about our own coffee, right? Have you guys taken any other Charleston history tours at all? Any history tours? Okay.
I've done them in the past.
Okay. So you guys should basically know we had an earthquake here in 1886. Right? You guys should all know that we can take any type of history tour at any time because we all talk about it. And the reason why I bring it up here is because this is allegedly where the first death occurred. White man's one you see in the middle of the building behind me also wraps around the front of the stage. So they say a piece of that broke off, struck somebody in the back of his head, and killed him. The previous bar owner said he used to see shadow figures in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night as he was closing the bar after talking to Big John and grabbing the bottles. Now, I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that story because I don't have any actual proof of that story. It's just a great segue so the mom's going to get on my tour and I'm thinking about her kids getting sick on the tour. So.
I'm thinking of something, sorry.
Is it okay?
Yeah, we were
just
just
double-checking.
I think you meant
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, we thought
I just have to make sure.
Did you just bail on everybody too?
No, it's just me. I'm just the bailer. I bail on my husband.
Before we move, I do want to see the word list real quick. So go ahead and hit that. Yep. Just want to see before we move on.
It just says call.
Is it just picking up on things we're saying?
No, because you weren't saying it said call before you
It's not
said
picking
anything.
up. The gist behind this app and its claim is that it is also picking up on words and phrases from the radio stations and then spitting them back to us.
Okay.
Again, on the television shows, they use a box similar to this, an actual device that's designed for what's called an Oculus. It only has 2,000 tones in it. This app has over 90 million features. That's why I like to use it. That's why I can pull out 80% of it being BS. So again, it's 5%. So I feel good.
Should I put the earbud in or yeah?
I'm going to freak you all out, but there's a lot of glue around you all. Hey, Ari. Yeah. All of a sudden, he just disappeared.
What?
He just disappeared.
Just trip over
At the very top of the numbers. So when you're looking at the digital numbers, those will be
And so if we hear like a specific word, that's what we're thinking.
anything that you hear, because you're not going to know the whole story the whole time. Okay, so let's kind of get into this. Is more of your hands-on experience. So kind of hang on. You guys have all had a question so far, which is good. Okay, you're all curious. It's awesome. Except for one. He hasn't said a word. All right, so this is going to be your easy space your entire time with me, everybody. I was going to say ladies, but sorry.
You
can
call
the
ladies.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah. So your entire time with me should be thought of as kind of a ghost hunting 101. I'm teaching you different methods and tactics of how to actually go ghost hunting. So this space is going to be your level 1. It's going to be really simple. This is normally when even I have my groups of 10, I bounce around with every person, show them a little bit more hands-on tactic or how to listen to things, and we move on. So this is the big red barn. This is where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. The horses are inside the barn and they can hear us, which is part of the reason why we use earbuds. They don't like the white noise and they kick the wall and scare the shit out of everybody. It's never fun. So one rule of thumb here is that we do not put lasers on vehicles or on the barn. You're the only one with lasers, Kim, so again, they do not go on the barn at all. They will spook those ponies. Those lasers are also strong enough to set off car alarms, no pressure. So we're going to talk about lasers in depth. So spirit boxes, let's start there. Spirit boxes, this is not television. This is not, is somebody here? Like everybody wants to ask. You guys are all here for paranormal proof. If somebody answers the word no, that means somebody's here. They lied. So again, we're going to go after specific questions all night long. This one, I'm going to actually give you 2 example questions that you can kind of tinker around with as we learn more about these devices. You're going to ask questions like, what color is the big red barn? Reason being is the answer's in the question. You know that we're going to be listening and looking for the color red. However, keep in mind that the color red might not be in the vocabulary of a song lyric or a DJ or a commercial coming on, but heart, blood, fire truck. Those 3 things are specifically red, and I would take that as an acceptable answer. However, most of the night I'm going to require 2 pieces to kind of verify things that are going on. So for example, we're next to Big John's. If you hear the number 40 and you have the word art on your word list, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You kind of see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Most of the stores...
I had 4.
He had 4, but that's still relative to Eliza, and you're going to learn more about that later on, because that's our next space. Most of the stories tonight are going to have multiple people with the same names. Lots of Georges, lots of Charles, lots of Elizas. So again, these are all very common names between the 18th and 1900s. So that's an interesting one.
Earlier.
But that's still an interesting one, that something else might be going on. I'm not going to call it evidence until I hear something else relevant to it. But I'll kind of go into that. I will withhold information from y'all on purpose. I don't like to put in subliminal messaging so that you guys aren't looking for the color red.
Yeah.
So the next space, obviously this area is for you to get used to listening to your devices. The next space you'll have questions where you won't have those type of questions. You'll have a little bit more in detail type questions. If you don't get an answer of what color is the big red barn, you can open it up to like what's inside the big red barn. Now you have certain keywords. You'll notice throughout the whole night, I'm going to slow down on keywords of each story. Over there, it was 1947, New York, Giants, Big John, and anything related to a bar. The history here is really simple. This is where we held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's all I know. We're talking 1860s to 1920s. So your keywords here are obviously red. Delivery, milk, eggs, and anything related to horses or a stable. So again, when you're asking those type of questions, those would be direct answers that can be considered that won't usually need a second clue to verify, so to
Wait,
speak.
so are we supposed to be actually asking questions out loud?
You can. Some people like to try to mentally think them.
Okay.
So it just depends on whatever you're most comfortable with. The nice thing about a group this size is I'm not going to be hanging around you the whole time. I'm going to be bouncing around, so the teacher won't be around all the time. So you experiment and see what's going to work best for you.
Okay.
As far as the 3 spirit boxes that we're working with. Have we had any readings since we got in here?
In this space, no. It has been 0, 0.
0, 0, 0s. Okay. So I normally work with the cameras first. So Kim, Emily, and Will, I need you guys to kind of stay with me for just a minute. The rest of you can basically be following Mary. I'm going to play Mary.
That's fine. You're fine.
So that way, because that was the
You're fine.
I'm going to basically see what's going on with Mary's device and seeing where the hotspots are. We stay away from vehicles when we're in spaces like this.
Window panes.
The only thing that I ask is when we're in spaces like this, because we're going to hit 3 major spaces that are kind of close to an area, where I give you guys room to expand. You just don't go in between vehicles, and as far as the cameras go, they will not be filming vehicles or people as they're walking by. That's the only thing. So just stay away from people's cars. They're really touchy about it down here, because there's going to be a lot. It's Saturday night. So, everybody that I did not mention, spread out. Just start listening to your spirit boxes. I'll be with you in just a moment. So, cameras. So let's start with. Go ahead and turn one of your lasers on for me. Perfect. So you should be able to see those lasers pretty bright in the camera. Basically, what you're looking for are things to come through here. So you don't always need to point the camera down at it. You almost want to be at an angle so that way we actually have a nice view of it. Your camera is also looking for other things that shouldn't be able to reflect light, things we wouldn't be able to normally see with our own eyes. So that's why I kind of like this is twofold. Lasers used to be accompanied by just a person with a digital camera, and I would literally have to go through hundreds, if not thousands, of photos that were taken in one specific tour. It got really annoying. It's much easier to watch a video because it's still thousands of pictures. So, but with your particular, the way you guys should be working together, this is the perfect type of space. That's the perfect angle. The only thing that you can control back and forth, and we haven't even started recording with you yet, you can kill that light for a minute, is if somebody gets too close, you see my hand bleeds the whole camera out, you have a short range light here. So now my hand isn't being reached out, but your long range light is still working. So if we're kind of too huddled up together, you can just click that red button back and forth, and it is Velcroed on, it won't fall off. When I say let's go ahead and start recording, we're going to tap this button here pretty hard until the red light starts flashing, so that way you know it's recording. Every 9 minutes and 26 seconds, you'll see a flicker on the screen that's creating your file. The files are 4 gigabytes apiece. So if you think about files, but that's pretty large for anything. So it's just creating a new one, so that way I can splice them all together. Okay. So nice and easy on your part. As far as your camera goes, I think you have the gist that we want to try to keep somebody in view.
Sure.
I do want to prove a point, but point your camera at the wall for me, dead on.
Okay.
So it should have bled out to red.
Right.
Watch my hand. The wall should now be blue.
Right.
So our skin temperature is going to give you that array of color. This space is great for you in here just to get used to what it actually looks like, is because you have metal, asphalt, wood, foliage, all kinds of things.
Okay.
So that way you kind of get a gist of it. Our next space can be a little daunting with the way that, because it's gravel and mud and all of that. So it's going to be, you're going to see a bunch of different temperatures in there. So your biggest goal is that, you're going to try to keep a person in there and the sky out.
Okay.
If you can. Keeping the sky out can be nearly impossible in some spaces. So just kind of get used to it. The slower the movements, obviously the better video we're going to have.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I'll keep an eye on you, just to make sure that the camera's staying on the left even when we restart it, and that kind of thing. And when I say let's stop it, you're just going to hit the red square, it'll turn to a circle, and then you'll hit the circle when we want to start it again.
All right.
Super easy. All right, let me show her more about that REM pod.
What are we doing?
You can practice a little bit for a minute.
When you were talking, Rich and I were saying, is that good?
You heard something? Yeah. Look for where is that REM pod you have? Okay, so any readings at all? Okay, that's not average.
But I meant to tell you, and it kind of just
Big job.
sorry.
It's funny because it looks like complete skull. So,
Yeah. Here, I want to see you. No, I want to see the screen with you.
oh, I see.
Oh, I just heard the word lifetime. Lifetime.
No, you're not going to be that close to it. The only thing that I would say, like, you would see, would be something smaller, like around
This
the
feels
5
weird
range,
walking
and that's
around
only because
filming
the
everybody.
fingers.
I just heard the word
You shouldn't have
25.
saw anything at a 12.
You did?
It was 12.
I don't know.
Because it kind of shocked me.
Roll down.
Yeah, that's big.
I heard lots of things. How much is he going to know? That's what I don't
really big.
understand.
So, that's good. That's what you're looking for. And again, it's not going to happen everywhere.
You hearing anything?
All right.
I just heard the word 25.
25.
What's that?
25.
Numbers and names usually don't lie.
That's what I heard. 25.
Don't just turn around. You have to have a hand up for it.
I know.
You can make any of them out. Numbers, names, any kind of phrase that might make sense. Go ahead and just let me know what it is. So you're going to hear the radio all night long. That's what I want you to do. So because of that, the disembodied voices that we catch on TV are rare. I might catch 4 or 5 of them a year. That's why this method is so that you guys can get the gist that there are more methods to using spirit boxes other than just white noise static. Okay. Let me see the rest of your Watch your head.
What? The camera view the entire night is going to be like Katie's ass. Like Katie's ass and boobs.
All right, guys, let's go learn some real history now. What do you think?
Yeah.
Instead of ponies and football players.
All right.
All right.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm totally used to this because my cousin Jeannie is definitely
Oh, okay,
so I
good.
always get what's up.
Well, you're not a skeptic, right?
No.
Don't believe in ghosts.
Haunted house.
Just don't step in horse poop.
There was a whole mess around you or just kept circling.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you still thinking that up to
Yeah.
scare me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. At least you're honest. But if you laugh, I will come back in. And, I mean, if you make me laugh, I will.
There was a big
She hasn't seen the movie. She doesn't know. Okay, so you should have a viewing party because even the kids might like it, right?
Oh, 2.16.5.
Oh, hang on to that number. I'm going to have to write them down. We got some story time first. But keep an eye on it. Let's move everybody back this way just because that's the only entrance and exit to the lot. So,
I've heard about the amazing.
okay, it's going to be a good night.
3.8.
Story time, yeah. So, normally when I'm conducting my own investigations, I don't like the history ahead of time because I don't want to be skewed. But with you guys, I'm not going to tell you every single little detail of things that you might be able to hear tonight. So if you come up with something that I know is relevant to the story, obviously I'll be able to prove it to you tomorrow morning. But just keep in mind, when we're here, I don't do my investigations this way. I don't want to know what happened. So, what is this place? Welcome to another beautiful space in Charleston, by the way. It's another parking lot. So, this place used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney mansion site. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this lot. Eliza's garden was right behind Five George Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So that's where we are back here. It did expand all the way back, so again, we're just kind of taking up a piece of it. Again, with cameras in here, we're going to be very careful with this. A lot of the employees like to park here. They get funny about their cars being filmed, so just kind of keep that in mind. And lasers. Sorry, I forgot we have the lasers out. So who the heck were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew, by the way, that's 3 Charleses in case you didn't count those. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a pretty big deal for us, and obviously the son was raised here. I don't want to talk about politics. You guys are on a vacation, so let's get into Eliza. First off, I'd like to show you guys at least what she looked like so you know who we're talking about. And obviously we have Eliza's name has popped up on the Worthless Spirit box already. So, as I'm talking about her, this way you guys can get a gist of what she actually looked like. So, Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. Definitely a great description. Let's talk about how she got rich. According to today's standards of being young when you got married, not back then in the colonial times. She's gonna get a lot now that she's getting the gist of it. With that said, the only reason I'm not going to tell you how old she was is because Charles was over double her age. Yeah, that's why I say according to today's standards. It won't sound as gross when I reveal the answers to you.
Looks
By the
like
way,
you
spirit
and Scott.
boxes, reminder, you're not going to get questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the red barn. She married Charles because her father over in England. That's interesting.
Is it Charles Miley?
Very interesting. And yours is recording, so we'll be able to verify that. Her father in England thought he was dying. He wanted to see all of his kids one last time. She didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put.
6.7.
She's getting good numbers too. She put her foot down and said, I'm getting married. This is 1744. There's no such thing as citizenships or a green card. So she married Charles out of love, and after his death, she did remain a widow. So this was a true love story. Now,
2.5.
her father didn't die right away, so Eliza was right. He starts sending gifts to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes her blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it tonight. That's how we still use it today. She had to learn from her Gullah slaves on how to keep it going in our obviously not warm temperatures all the time. So once she figured it out and experimented with it here in the space, like in her garden, she moved it to Mount Pleasant, just north of here. She calls her dad and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Give me some contacts. We now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. So something absolutely unheard of. So that's her basis of her story. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are here. There's two Elizas. Charles had a first wife named Eliza as well. She died, and in the same year, he married this Eliza. So, with that said, ironically, they both have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. If you want to find out which Eliza we're speaking to, ask what the maiden name is, not the middle name. So, Eliza had at least one son that I told you of. His name was Charles, signer of the Constitution. There were more. I'll tell you, we already have the answer on the spirit box. It is the number 4. She did have a total of 4 children. There's weird stuff going on with the kids. You can ask what their names are and normally how many there were, but usually that's about it. The reason I say that is because there's a tragedy among, one of the kids. She doesn't want to talk about it. So again, I'll tell you what that tragedy is before we leave the space. If we poke the bear too much, even the readings that we're getting on the EMF will go away. I've seen it dozens and dozens of times, and I can usually call it out when we have a dead night that somebody poked the bear a little too hard. So I'm just going to show a little bit of respect. The mansion, it's obviously not here anymore. You can ask what the heck happened to it, and then what year did that happen? We have gotten the specific answers. Eliza's death, she's really, really open about her death. You can ask her how old she was when she died. You can ask her where she died, what she died from, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Notice these are not yes or no questions. They're all very, very specifics. Now, they will reach and grab for whatever the DJs and song lyrics are telling you, and if it is relative to their story, I'll definitely let you know. Again, I'm looking for very big specifics, not something like you heard your name, which is interesting, but at the same time, you also heard Charles. So again, I'm going to be looking for other clues around Charles to verify that that's what we actually needed to hear out of it. But I'm also looking for specific things, the kids' names, the specific year of when the tragedy happened to the mansion. But these are definitely specific things that we're looking for. As we're kind of Josh Allen.
Guess that's okay. Then I'm a Bills fan.
Josh or Allen doesn't mean anything to me here. However, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything. Also, keep in mind the two of you listening to spirit boxes, they're slowed down. What color is the big red barn? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. I don't need Rudolph the nosed reindeer. It will pick up words before and after. It's up to us to figure out what's relevant and what's not. So again, I'm looking for those very specific clues. Cameras, again, cars, be funny about, nice slow movements on both of you. You can actually start your camera now if you'd like. Lasers, again, with you guys, you're going to be restricted to kind of the middle space to be working with the lasers. And if the green one starts to fade, let me know. I do keep a stash of batteries. We will have to replace your battery once throughout the night, so don't get freaked out. It's nothing paranormal. And as far as the REM pod, I'm going to stick with you for just a moment so I can show you how to actually use it, now that you've gotten the gist of how to use those numbers. So everybody else, we can kind of spread out. Let's have some fun in here. We're going to spend a good 5 to 7 minutes in here depending on how much activity we get. If we get a lot, we'll keep going. Otherwise, I'll move us on pretty quickly and give us the answers.
So we should actually ask some questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You need to stick with me for just a moment. All right, so.
All right, you ready?
No, don't stick with me.
Aria, I can't hear you.
I'm trying to listen for their names.
Ask what happened in the mansion. Sorry, it seems odd walking around filming.
I know.
I feel like I'm a part of the documentary. Hello, my name is Miley. Today,
It says hearing. On here, hearing.
you want to ask some questions? See if we can get some answers. Hearing. You want to ask some questions? You want to ask some questions?
Yeah,
What do we want to ask?
so what happened to the mansion?
What happened to the mansion?
Still say hearing.
What happened to the mansion?
still says hearing.
I got nothing wrong. Let's try another one.
What year was the mansion torn down?
Cameron.
What's the? I got a year.
Oh, you did?
I have a name.
It was from Hotel California, and that song keeps popping up.
Oh, really? It's picking up a radio.
What is
Radio
it?
station.
1964 in Hotel California.
I can't remember offhand.
That's probably way too late. Anyways,
It still says enhance.
that can't be right.
Enhance.
And before it said Cameron.
What's that?
I think you keep asking it, or you keep rephrasing. You know, just keep going at it until you get something.
Usually,
Yeah.
So, like, what happened to the mansion?
Yeah. What happened to the mansion?
You getting
What?
there?
What happened to the mansion? We just have to say it a few times. I think. Just try to get.
Just like when we were in the driver, we'd say it.
Yeah.
What
just
year
like
did was the mansion torn down? People think we're crazy. Talking about.
It still says enhance. Don't get too close to me. Don't just film me. You gotta film
I'm filming everybody.
Eliza, can you push it to the purple?
Oh, whoa! There's a whole.
What
It's like three-
color was your hair?
There's like 3 people standing around you all in blue.
Huh?
No, just messing around.
Well,
We'll go back to the center.
Joy's a little too big for me.
I thought unless that was like a
Yes, the mansion's not. So that's what you did have.
Okay. Okay. What year did the mansion catch fire?
Pretty quiet, good, aren't you?
Who, me? No, not usually. I'm just mellow. We went to Husk and got able to get in there. There's one in Nashville too.
Okay.
And yeah, you know, you eat too much, all the blood goes
Oh,
through.
yeah.
You know, that's where I'm at.
I
So.
said, what color was your favorite dress, Eliza? And it said blue.
So there is another dress that was passed down once to her granddaughter.
Figure out what year the mansion caught fire.
And I want to say like the yellow dress that's on display down at the house on but it was passed down to her granddaughter Harriet. So I don't know why that's the only dress we can find for Eliza, considering I'm sure she was very prominent when they had many dresses. Yeah, well,
So the mansion burned down, is what I heard.
Yeah.
There was fire. So I don't know if anything like that popped up.
it froze again.
Now I have Zoe. I have another name.
Oh, the lasers don't help you at all.
What's that mean? Huh?
Is that Will? Can you hold it to blue again?
Can you make it turn blue again? Are you Eliza?
Or Charles? Which Eliza are you?
Did you know Eliza?
Just for the date.
You did?
March 12th. He said it doesn't mean anything to him yet, but I'll have to look it up.
Well, all of a sudden this was holding on green and then shot up and held on blue for a little bit while we're trying to get it to do it.
Okay.
Are you Ricardo?
No. Is it okay that Ricardo is here? He's here. Okay, it's totally zeroed out.
So what are we doing? Dudes riding together?
It's
Yeah.
Huh?
So going to flip up?
close to the end. It needs to be really close to it. But can you hold on the blue? Oh wait, hold. How are you doing this?
That was a strong one.
I know, really, really strong. The numbers haven't gone up, but it holds.
Are you Eliza?
So this is, she can touch this and make it go off. But the numbers are going up. So he's had the numbers go up to like over 100 here.
Were you related to Eliza? So, no, not yet. So what does that mean when it...
Well, okay, so this is picking up the, what is it, the something. So this is picking up like electromagnetic fields, is that right? I know. So these numbers goes up. Okay, he said anything over 16 and this one's good. This picks up when
What's it
something
at now?
physically touches it.
Okay.
So it only goes off when
So-
it touches it. And it got up, it's gotten up to blue, but not past that.
Okay, but without you touching it. it's
Without me
gonna-
touching it. Yeah, without me touching it. Like, we didn't drop this off.
You what? Oh, are you really?
Wait, like as funny as I was yesterday?
That's what mine was yesterday.
She did not like you yelling. Sorry. Did that bother you?
What year did your family die? Or what year did your house burn down?
She didn't like that. It went to 0. Did you see that? The numbers were going in and this and that went back to 0.
Special offer, limited time.
She asked me. Somewhere down. That music's on. Well, when I was watching it, I was just thinking, it's breakdown. Like, shh.
Specifics. What do you got now?
Limited time color text. I don't think that's thank you for that. But it did shoot up to blue.
It shot up to blue while we were talking, and then she asked me.
I said, what year did your family die? And I meant, what year did your house burn?
And everything shot back to 0. Like everything.
I got tongue-tied.
Like that.
Is that blue? It just said be a rapper.
You know what I mean? As long as you have people to apart.
especially those boozy popsicles.
Will, stop it. This is all. That's gonna be sent to all them. It's gonna be put on YouTube.
It did just say be a rebel.
Is she a rebel?
Not really.
Okay.
Very
Okay, well. Rebel, not perfect. 35.
All right, give it another minute. Will, anything weird on your end?
No, nothing's popping out.
Okay.
I mean, to my eye, I mean, it's keeping it away from the sky, and then it's blue.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, I just share some numbers. 888-5050.
You did hear something else earlier. Breaking news call.
What do you like? What?
That was
She what?
So freaky.
Oh.
Okay, did not like that. Like earlier?
Oh man.
Sorry. You think it's funny? I'm trying to figure out what questions to ask.
Take the ball there, and I'm going to take your green one so I can change out the batteries when I tell you guys the answers. Those of you with cameras, if you want to get some footage in here, I just ask that you don't film inside the windows. Will's doing a pretty good job. He's good. So your camera is amazing.
Light on at all?
We don't need lights on there. Definitely no lights. Yeah, lights are.
Yeah, it's on.
All right, so where the heck are we? This is Lodge Ave. We crossed that last crosswalk where we almost got hit. That's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. You're standing on one of the very first streets we ever had in Charleston.
Oh, that's where the name
Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. It was a fortification. Good stuff. Town. The reason I asked for names is because I have the list of every person that's ever lived here. The two buildings that we're looking at right now weren't here. Little tiny shotgun houses. So they did do an archaeological dig that made these clay bricks. We're going to talk about that in a second. But what they found were a bunch of the tools and silverware and some of the clothing from the people that used to live here, and did classify these people as lower class. It makes complete sense because across the street on East Bay, the road we are coming down, that's where the other side of the wall would have been, and the smell of low tide would have been coming through here. If you've never smelled low tide before, it's not very pleasant, especially on a daily basis. And rich people would not have been living down here. Makes complete sense. If you've been walking around Charleston, you probably noticed that some of our houses are skinny in the front and go long back. There's a couple of reasons for that, and I bring that up on purpose because most of those are down on the Battery. They did that on purpose to have the front porches on there, with we call them piazzas, and then the front door on that to keep the smell of low tide from coming into the house. They would open the second-story window and allow the pool air to air condition the house during the time frame. The other part of that is you were taxed based on how much street side you actually took up. So the skinnier you are, the less taxes you have. The Pinckneys that we just dealt with over there, I showed you their mansion. They were broad on the front. They didn't give a shit. They're going to pay the taxes. They had the money to do it. It was bragging rights. So I just like to point that out while we're talking about architecture a little bit. So the bricks you're walking on, these are Belgian blocks. They're made straight from granite. Now, you guys all watch some of you watch the TV shows. You've heard the term limestone in dealing with the paranormal. Same principle here. These are straight from the earth. Anything that comes that pure straight from the earth is said to hold on to the consciousness of memories. The names I commonly get down here are Benjamin and John. Benjamin and John are two people that lived down here in 1801. It's weird, I don't know. It's a tour down there. That's the reason why I like to come down here. But anyway, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. When I say people lived here, it was only like up to 5 people at a time. So when I get Benjamin and John every 6 to 7 weeks, I don't think that's a coincidence. So it is like we're watching a 6 to 7 week long movie, and I'm catching the tail end of it every 6 to 7 weeks with their names coming through. Every once in a while, a third name will pop up. That name is Jane. Another person from 1801. Do I have anything relevant to 1801? I don't. I've dug into it. There's nothing that went on down here that was significant. It's just 3 random people that I hear their names constantly. So, the other interesting thing about this space is that it used to be, before people lived here, where the Freemasons had their Masonic Lodge. So, hence the name Lodge Alley. We do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons here. Masons, Freemasons, break, Illuminati has shown up here several times for me over the past year. And I do chuckle every time I hear it, because I'm like, really, we're going to confirm a conspiracy theory on a ghost tour? But again, it's one of those pieces that I can't ignore. When I hear it, it's there. Who the hell says Illuminati on the radio? We were obviously meant to hear it for some odd reason multiple times. Again, this isn't a long stop, but it is kind of giving you the layout of the land of how Charlestown used to be set up. Because the stories that we're going to go through the rest of the time period, we're going to be inside the original Charlestown walls. The next space we're going to go to is another alley. However, I cannot take you down there like what we're doing here because I've been pretty much kicked out of there. You guys joined the annoying group with the blinky lights and the noisemakers and all that kind of stuff. It is residential at the end, and other much larger tours do pass through the halfway point where they're allowed to go. So they go up to the halfway point. We don't need to be in their way with laser lights and trying to listen. However, I still tell the story outside the alley because you can still see it for one, and we still get a ton of evidence even from outside the alley. It's a great story. You should hear it and see it because you're in Charleston, and it is not a legend. You can prove it. And it's going to be dealing with duels. After that, we're going to be dealing with some myths and legends of Charleston based on what we're hearing and seeing on the spirit boxes. So again, the one corner we're going to go to, you're going to see lots of much larger groups like this one over here to your left, and we're going to choose our space. We stay out of their way. It's just that simple. After that, we're going to deep dive, like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site, into a female pirate over at the Powder Magazine. If you're into pirate stories, this is a walk. Like, this is not a standard that the pirate came in and squandered and whatever. This is a nutty, nutty story. So that'll be our last stop. I just like to give you guys kind of a layout of what we're going to be doing from here going forward. Bless you. Once we exit the alley, we will stop your videos because that is a residential area. We'll be just passing through. Once we get to our next alley stop, if you want to start your videos again, we can. But during the neighborhood portion of it, we're just passing by. We're just going to be 8 friends, opposed to 10. Any other terms pop up besides town? I am excited about that. So we'll see if Charles pops up as we leave here. That'll be very interesting. All right.
Camera frizzy.
You keep breaking this.
Did he tell me I could not turn this on?
What?
Did he say I could turn this on in here?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah. I just heard hot tub time machine.
No, you can't.
I mean,
That's gotta be legit.
yeah.
I'm telling.
What?
And that's why I also recorded for you guys, so you can go back and listen. Because there's going to be some spaces where I'm a little quieter. And this is considered a quiet area.
Mortgages.
Because of the hotel tonight. And you're back on record. So when we leave the alley, just tap that button so it stops flashing. And let's take a walk through the 2 watches. Where's your ticker?
He's got a cash on the phone.
You want to act like you're taking my picture?
That's true.
That's really good.
Katie, smile.
Hang on, one more.
Well,
One more.
we'll talk about. Now I'm going to have to bring up Zoe. So, I'll speak about Zoe after this. Have you heard anything come up? I know you're just on the phone.
It's fine.
How's he doing? Is he mad that you're not here? Fair enough. Alright, so the alley behind me. You're going to see lots of tour groups, like I said, come through there. They're going to go about halfway because that's as far as we're allowed to go. We just stay out of their way. This is Philadelphia Alley. It's easy for me to remember because that's where Eliza's buried. Well, that's what we call it now. We named it that after dueling being illegal and stupid. So it used to be called Dueller's Alley. So like take 20 paces, turn and shoot at guns. We all tell the story of one duel because we can actually prove it, like I said. So let's get into it. There's a lot. There's a lot of key words. I'll do my best to slow down on those key words. If you do want to film, again, just kind of be casual. Don't shoot us down. So, Will's doing the same thing. So, there's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with this cash flow. The attorney thinks the doctor is just after her money. So, with that, he tells her to send the doctor away. He just wants her money. To prove that he's not, he moved to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. Somebody walking by with the name of Ralph Isaacs. Now, I do want to point out Ralph's name for a second because you're ghost hunting. Initials mean something. R.I. will show up here from time to time. Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island. So R.I. is commonly heard. I just need a secondary clue so I know who the heck it belongs to, whether it's the doctor or Ralph. But anyway, Ralph says, hey man, you don't want to stay here. This guy's going to try to kill you. I got a room you can rent from some friends of mine at 59 Church Street. So 59 is a common number here too. He takes him up on the offer, and him and Ralph become friends. So the doctor's practice starts to take off. He wants money for himself. He's proving his point to Amanda's attorney. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Every ghost town you ever go to will have a whistler. Ours just happens to be a doctor. They call him the Whistling Doctor around town. Anyway, him and Ralph go see plays together, but the doctor's making a lot more money than Ralph, so he gets better seats. That's the hierarchy, the way things go in Charleston. So they can't sit next to each other. They talk about the plays on the way home. They go see William III one, the Shakespearean play. They're talking about the new actress that the doctor thought was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing. It gets even more heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island. Now, they get, obviously pretty ugly with each other. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from, goes to his friends and he puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Pretty jerk move. The doctor sees it and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueller's Alley. We're going to settle this. They come down, they take the 20 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend, which is often what happened when he went to a duel. Somebody didn't always die. It's just one of those things. You either shot it into the ground or into the air. This is one of those cases. Ralph has his one shot, and he puts it on the kneecap. Sorry, you're just what I'm looking at. Puts it on the kneecap of the doctor. So the doctor didn't die either. And Ralph also proves his point. His friends pick him up and they carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. Remember, this is a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself, probably from bleeding it out. So they say as you walk through this alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. Now, I told you I've been booted out of this alley. I would normally take my groups down there, no spirit boxes, camera down there. But at the end of this alley, those bricks actually get a little bit older. You have a full handprint and fingerprints in those bricks at the end because they're sunbelt bricks from slave trade. This alley didn't always come this far down, so those bricks at the end are much, much older. That makes it I give you guys gadgets and gizmos to play with, and everybody wants to put a spirit box or an EMF meter there to see what's going on. That person's not hanging around here. That poor kid's not staring at that brick going, man, I wish I would have told you. But he's not there. So caught. The relevant dates of why I even bring this up is because later on I had to reroute my tour. Because normally I would take it all the way through it and we'd go left back to East Bay Street for one last story to learn about Zoe, which we're going to tonight anyway. But again, I'm going to tell you the story of Zoe. But I had to reroute everything, and I had to learn about pirates, and I wasn't happy about it because I'm a vampire guy, and pirates were not my thing, nor did I even believe the pirate story until that very first night. One of the trials I'm going to tell you about took place on November 28th, 1720. I was at that location investigating with you guys, and I didn't really know the whole story. It was November 28th, 1720, and that was 2020. So it was exactly 300 years of the anniversary. Somebody heard the 300. I had no idea what the hell it meant until I researched it the next day, and I went, shit, now I gotta learn about pirates. I've been reading more books about pirates over the past year and a half, like crazy, trying to put all the pieces together for this story for you guys. I'm still learning more stuff. So, from here, do we have any other words? Unless that's a gun. I don't know. It sounds like a gun. Like an old 1700s revolver. We're going to go up around the corner, talk a little bit about some recent legends, and then we're going to do that last final investigation of that female pirate and learn about her. So, any words that we've heard of these two of you? We can stop our filming for a little while for as far as what's filming. But again, I like to point out a few things to get you wrapped up for this female pirate. Out-of-pocket expenses.
Venmo.
Before y'all sit down for a moment, I do like to point out one thing. That's the wall to Philadelphia Alley over there across the courtyard. There's a gate in the middle of it. I told you guys that
I see it.
Good. I'll be looking that stuff up.
In there.
So, the doorway in the middle of that wall is for when there was a loser to the duel, they would actually bring the loser through this courtyard. It was a shortcut to get over to St. Philip's Cemetery. Instead of walking all the way down to Queen Street. Remember, it didn't go all the way through the Cumberland. So, again, just one of those things I like to point out because it's a neat little feature of Charleston that not many people actually know about. So, that doorway is there for a specific reason. And by the way, if you guys are going to walk down there and turn on your voice recorders, every local knows the story of the whistling doctor. And we all throw a whistle down the alley when we're walking down Queen and Cumberland. So, and I do it every single night on my way back from my tours because we're going to end across the street and my garage is that way, so I always throw a whistle down. And if my daughter's on a tour, we race to see who's going to get to it first.
All right, James.
Hang on to that one. Okay. All right, so we're going to be here for like 3 or 4 minutes, so if you want to sit on a nice cold bench, have at it. I know Emily's like, nope, not doing it. All right, so you can kill the film for a few minutes.
All right.
Kind of.
My camera frozen.
We're going to get you fixed up.
I'm just
All right, our last stop. You guys excited for this one? This is a crazy one. We're going to be talking about the little building up front up there. And the reason I've come back here is because all the other tours like to go up there and tell the story and move on. We're going to be investigating, so I'd like to tell it back here to stay out of their way. That's the Gunpowder Magazine. So, this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. Those crosses you see on there, if you can see them from this angle, are not crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. If you're not familiar with earthquake bolts, it's basically a turnbuckle. So if we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, speaking of, that was our last major earthquake, they say you can turn those turnbuckles slowly and it'll straighten the building back up again. It's a great concept, it just doesn't work. So the reason I bring it up is because those are the very first set of earthquake bolts that Charlestown put in, because it is the oldest government building in South Carolina. So, I told you guys about the Charlestown walls earlier as well. That street behind you is where the wall existed. It went up past the Powder Magazine this way, and then started going south towards the battery. It's locked into the corners on purpose. If a Revolutionary warship or a pirate ship wants to attack the Gunpowder Magazine from 3 blocks away, it's going to have a hard time those cannonballs getting through the 32-inch thick walls. Or we're going to pretend that the cannonball went all the way through and blew up the gunpowder. There's sand in the roof from 1711, 1712 that's supposed to go up in the air with the explosion, because it's not going to go out the big thick walls and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It is still there. However, doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery, sand went up, building burned to the ground, no longer exists. This one's just never been attacked, although it did serve in 7 different wars, including the Civil War. That was its last one. So kind of keep that. I bring up all this history of this little tiny building because it took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? 10 years for one small building?
Oh yeah.
You seen him work on the interstate?
I know, right?
Yeah.
So 1703 to 1713 was the construction. 1708 is where the story begins. So, follow me, there's a lot of twists. A young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She moves here with her father and his mistress. You guys with me so far? The mistress is her mother. The 3 of them are getting away from his wife. How pissed was she that they had to leave Ireland in 1708 by boat to come here? That's all I'm saying. She's pretty scorned. So, they land in Georgetown, just north of here. Dad buys a plantation, Mom dies pretty quickly. Back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly, just to kind of give you her mentality. I know, right?
Yeah, Anne was the daughter, right?
Yes. So, once Mom dies and they're here, and Dad now has to send Anne down to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. That's why we're here. This is what I call a familiar ghost. It's kind of like using a toy, trying to get in touch with a child ghost. We're here because we don't have any buildings this old anymore. So that's why we're here. This could be a hit or miss. However, let's get into this. We're going to fast forward past the time frame of when she was actually down here. So 1713, this is done. 1715, pirates are coming through town. And Anne is stoked. Remember her mentality. She wants her freedom. She's kind of hardcore and badass. She falls in love pretty quickly. What's his name? James Bonny. There's your James. So, James Bonny's a filthy pirate, and Dad does not approve. The 2 of them run away to Jamaica, and they get married. Anne Cormac becomes Anne Bonny, the most famous female pirate of the Golden Age, and her career started right here. So, once you get down there, she realizes, this is not Captain Jack Sparrow that I wanted, right? This swashbuckling, drunken rum guy. This is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. So this is not the guy she wants. A few years later, she falls in love again. We're on guy number 2. I'll keep track. This guy.
Yeah, Mateo.
Mateo, Spanish name.
Yep.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Like it. So, second guy, his name is John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. We're going to call him Jack through the rest of the story, just to clarify all the J names. So, Calico Jack is called that because he wore the jackets of the men he killed. So he's a very dapper young filthy pirate. So he is the Captain Jack Sparrow that she wants, and he has his own ship. She wants to be part of it. Girls curse pirate ships. You cannot put a girl on the crew. He makes a deal with her. If you dress like the guys and hide your gender, you can be a female in like quarters. He's the captain. That's how it's going to go. So she's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate now, let's go. I know, right? She's a female in his quarters. Let's put 2 and 2 together. We're all adults here. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby. These are friends of mine. Come back to the ship. We'll figure it out later. She has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the kid. She's also dressed like a girl. She doesn't give a shit anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty mad, and Jack just captured another pirate crew. They're down below deck. She's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does, guy number 3. The guy she's flirting with turned out to be female, just like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females on the same ship doing the exact same thing, dressed like men to be pirates. So, this young lady's name is Mary Reed. She convinces Mary to become part of the crew, and the British find out where they are. It's an entire fleet of ships that comes after one pirate ship to come take it out. Anne and Mary are the only 2 that are not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet muskets to defend the ship. Obviously, they're going to get taken. As they're being arrested, she looks at Jack and she says, you should have fought like a man instead of being hung like a dog. So, the word dog shows up here, obviously a big key word. The judge, he wants to see them separately, the 2 men by themselves that fought back, right? So, this judge's name shows my name as well. I already told you about Nicholas Trott with that guy over there because he was here in Charleston. This is another judge with my name, Nicholas Laws. He wants to see those 2 men. The 2 ladies go in front, they reveal their genders. He's surprised, but he doesn't care that they're pirates. He's still going to hang them. They're still pirates. So, they plead their bellies, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. By the way, this is the trial that took place on November 28, 1720, the 300th anniversary. So, can't hang a pregnant woman, he sends them both back to jail. Fine, we'll delay the hanging till after the pregnancy. Dad is still here in Charlestown with his Irish money. He bails out Anne. She remarries. That's her 2nd husband, 4th lover. Has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. That's all we know. I know, very quick and abrupt. As far as Mary Read goes, she died a year later in 1721 in the Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. It's probably scurvious and bumpy and gross and whatever else in that day. So, a couple of things. This is kind of like your last level. You can ask whatever questions you want to. I did leave out 2 facts that I can prove for certain. Those 2 facts are the name of Anne Bonny's parents, that's the father and mistress, and the name of Calico Jackson's ship. So, again, you can ask those 2 questions and hopefully you'll get an answer. Not to my knowledge. It's weird. They have something low. I think they had West on a spirit box. I told you guys at the beginning of this tour that sometimes people pass out during this tour. I think it was September, roughly, this past year. I bring my group back here to tell the story, and the young man next to me, he starts to go white as a ghost, and he starts to drop. I pick him up by his armpit, and I carry him over to that wall, which is where I normally end the tour, so I can put my bag down. Send the boyfriend over to the garage across the street to get him a bottle of water, see if he's starting to feel better. He's feeling fine. I tell the story. Then I send everybody out to go play with their devices. Then I say, Nick, we need to tell you something. What's going on? We are 2 transgender males. I had 2 females dressed like males on my tour. And one of them almost passed out the minute we walked in here. So take that for what it's worth. Again, sometimes it's relevant to the story. Sometimes it's just too much EMF. Sometimes it's just a psychic's like, no, there's just too much going on, and they're just going to drop like a wet noodle. I've seen it, I think, 6 times in the past 2.5 years where I've had to call an EMT or bring somebody to. So the first time it happened, yes, I was in CPR class the next day. Like, yeah, that's not going to happen like that. But anyway, take that for what it's worth. We are going to have some fun in here. We're definitely going to do some filming. We can do a little bit of laser work in here. Again, just watch the vehicles. The front yard of the Power magazine is open to you. You can go up to the gate and film, for those of you with cameras, and you can use lasers in the front lawn only. The only thing I'll ask him is that you keep them on the ground, because if you go higher, these are apartments in the brick building, you're going to be shooting in somebody's living room. So, nice and slow. This is all on the Pinckney mansion site, so you can definitely turn on your REM pod in here if you'd like. Again, let's just stay away from vehicles. I'm going to go hang out over there by the wall. When you guys hear, see, or got anything for me, I'll be writing it down in my notebook, and we'll wrap up in about 5 to 7 minutes. The tours that go to the front of the building, do not interrupt them. They always try to pitch you guys to tell you that their tour is more fun. We won't go there. Oh, we got a picture. She's like, oh, I'm going to try to do it on my own. But again, just wait your turn. It's just that simple. We just don't try to get in their way. I don't have many friends in this industry. I take a lot of business. It is very competitive. I do have one guy that I do take his tour once a year, just as kind of a refresher, but he's been doing it for 30 years. We've been guests on each other's podcasts. Like, it's that kind of relationship. We're both big history buffs, and he loves what I do. He loves the fact that we're always out here, especially since we've been doing this for so long. This is something different. Yes, you're right. You're all good to go. All right, let's spread out. Get some lasers.
Is there really like a specific area I should be kind of aiming this, or just
Not
this?
necessarily.
This target?
Have some fun. That's the point.
Wait, I got the word Will.
What's the father's name?
Is it Will?
It's William. Might actually get a few pieces out of this. Again, this is a hit or miss. That goes to a little kid. They're stoked because there's a bicycle poles over there. Like,
Oh, my 7-year-old and me.
There was a real brief pirate series. I think, I know History Channel does a million things, but this one was exceptionally good. Maybe it was on Netflix.
it was amazing.
Yeah,
I loved
yeah.
it. They put
I need
like
to watch
the
that
fireworks
again.
and Blackbeard's beard and stuff.
Yeah,
I watched it all the way through from start to finish one sitting.
yeah. I watched that. I binge watched it. When I got
It was only like 7 episodes, but it
Right.
was amazing.
Yeah, it was really
and
good.
Anne was in that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, I remember the story was.
scenes with Anne.
Oh yeah, I do.
This is weird. It just said, "Don't take my word for it." I don't know what that means.
I don't either, but I'm writing that one down. Yeah, that was a great series, and I usually recommend that if somebody wants to watch a documentary.
Right. Wonder if that's still on there.
I actually just finished reading the original the history of pirates. Captain Charles Johnson, supposedly written by Daniel
check it
Defoe.
out.
It's in old English,
Oh wow.
but like I bought a copy of it.
Uh-huh.
That's what I went to school for. So I read
Right.
it like as leisure reading. I
Right.
was like, oh, that's some cool shit in here.
I'll check that out. Yeah, the first trip that we took, I was in a conference, and then so Katie would venture out. This was back in '08, and she came here and she said, "Oh, you've got to see this." And then we walked around, saw Calhoun's grave, you know, and I just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
there's
just
history
stumbled
there.
upon it. It's like my favorite place to visit now.
Yeah.
There's so much, and we only went half a mile. Like if this was a 5-hour tour, like that'd be a whole different ball game.
Right.
You really, you need to franchise to Franklin, Tennessee.
I know.
Like,
we were talking
Well,
about
our next
that.
pieces are because what we want to do here is we want to have a storefront that sells the equipment and books on obviously paranormal and stuff like that, but have a
Right.
haunted hotel above it, like an Airbnb, and everybody gets the gear,
Right.
but it's gonna be like $500 a night. You know what I mean?
I'd
To
pay
do an
it.
Yeah, that'd be
investigation.
awesome.
I know most people say that too, but once we get that going here, we'll be in St. Augustine, then of course we'll try Savannah, but New Orleans is going to be a final destination. And I think 4 stores to retire on, I'll be good to go. I just got to find investigators I trust that
Right.
can actually teach people how to do this and have fun with it.
Right.
So, but again, I'm
That
changing
sounds-
the tour. You know, I've been meaning to change it for months now. I just haven't had a chance to get down here to keep researching because I try to take it to legit places. So I want to take out Big John's and add something to the back end of this, just because this is a hit or miss.
Right.
Like you never know. But I don't want to take you too far away from the starting point either.
Right.
And the Pinckney Mansion for me is a hotbed. Like I will never lose that because no other tour goes there.
Right. Now that's pretty awesome walking around there, hearing the history, and your mind just starts like or mine does. I start envisioning what it looked like there, and you know, people walking around. That's the way I feel with this whole town.
Yeah,
But,
it's always like that.
yeah.
And I try to paint a picture pretty clear. I mean, it's you can only do so much. That's why I bring the tablet, and it's like here's some extra pieces of what it used to look like. Here's
Well-
what this person looked like.
Where we're at, you know, I was telling you, it's the Carton Plantation, and it's the largest private Confederate cemetery because there was probably, I want to say 1,400 or so that were buried there in that cemetery that died in the Battle of Franklin. I mean, it's just a major.
If you
within
look at the
7
ground, are
hours.
they obviously unmarked graves now?
Well, they did a good job of preserving it, the family there at the time, and so they made sure there's a lot of unknowns in there, but they also they kept a log of their names
That's
and where they
awesome.
could identify, and then people would come back and say, I know this person or whatever. It's a really compelling story.
I've been to like slave cemeteries, like that weren't supposed to be.
Right,
There.
yeah.
We can just see them sunken in.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
where
I've seen
their
those too.
their pine boxes would have sunken in, and there's no headstones.
Right.
So again, I was going to say, if you look at it as almost like from a drone type of view, you can almost see like the inlays of the ground and
Right.
really like get a good feel for what was there.
Oh, sure. We've got in Nashville, it's Edwin Warner Park, and there's a whole hillside. I mean, it's all covered in trees now, but when you walk, you can see all the sunken graves there. I mean, just one right after another. What's that? Oh, yeah. What's that mean when it's doing that?
He said I have to keep resetting it, but he said it's not.
Like the other night, not one freeze up. Same batteries. Like what?
Hey, well, she got really cold here all of a sudden. I just got cold. Every time that thing went up. No, that's temperature stayed, but this number is 1.3 now. He said I shouldn't have anything here. What's going on?
It's like we're gonna look at the camera at the same time. I'm scared.
Ask questions. Just say.
What was your mother's name?
I don't need to reset this.
Like that weird. Like it's crazy.
Okay,
Pam.
Glenda. Mm-mm.
So still text that to me. I have a few websites and filters I like to run things through, kind of clarify.
We have to review the footage. Is there? We have to what?
I can't do that. I won't be able to get home.
I got purple. Purple. Any cold spots?
But I got filters I can run it through and see if it's really there. And it'll clear it up. I just didn't know if it was like it.
Will. I can't wait for your footage. He's like, the camera's
all over
upside
the
down.
place.
He's like, the
Household.
The camera's upside down.
I know.
That was once. I pulled that out of my pocket. I was like,
Anything
5
on the
cents.
spirit boxes at all? You got anything on your list? Got it.
February.
I like that. So, Miley, have you heard anything since we've been here?
February. Really? Oh, she just heard that. I just heard it. What?
I want to say yes.
Oh.
I don't know for certain.
Okay. Should I turn that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and kill your REM pod.
How come it goes so crazy when she turns it over like that?
It's based on her motion too.
Okay.
So what's happening with that, so you guys have an idea, the antenna that she pulled up, when she turns it on, there's an EMF field being generated around the antenna. So if it gets interrupted, it's going to go off. So if you, even when you jostle it, it's going to kink it. That button I told you to reset,
Yeah,
it just sets it
constantly.
straight
Like
again.
when it every time it would like hold for a second, I'd hit that reset. So
I am excited about a few things. So February I definitely have to dive into.
Okay.
Because again, dates don't normally lie. We do have the name Jack that popped up, and we did get the name James. So not
And Will.
And Will, yes, I forgot about that. Good call. The name of the father was William Cormack. The mother was Mary Brennan. So there's our second Mary. So Mary Reed the friend, Mary Brennan the mother. The name of the ship was called the Kingston. Do I expect Kingston to show up on a spirit box? Not necessarily, but I do expect the word king. I would take that acceptable because it's happened in the past with a direct answer. So let me show you what Anne looked like. It's one of the few pictures I could find with her with a shirt on.
okay.
She used to bare her breast to show the men that she killed that they were just killed by a woman. So red hair.
Learned about that down in
Yeah, she was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
hardcore.
Yeah, at the same time.
The Lost Kingdom of Pirates was the name of that.
Yeah, great. We
So
got
if
a
you want to know
pirate
more
tour
about Anne's
when we were
story and all
on
of that
St.
whole thing down in
Thomas.
Nassau with her, there's a Netflix documentary called The Lost Kingdom of Pirates.
Did I not
It
watch
is
that with you?
amazing.
No, I watched it
My
on my.
husband
Yeah,
started watching that just the other night.
He watched the whole thing and didn't tell me.
yeah,
It's really, really
yeah,
good.
it's well done. I mean, it
I'm gonna
really
have to
is.
watch
This
that
is
now.
Calico Jack. Again, the only picture of him is of a woodcut. Again, this is the guy who wore the jackets of the men he killed. So somebody actually added color to this, and I didn't think it just didn't look right. So I was like, I'm going to keep the black and white version. But again, I'm pretty stoked. I mean, a list of names that you guys got just from that story alone. So the only one I think we're missing is Mary, right? And Anne herself. But I want to say February falls in the summer with Jack. I want to say it's like his birthday or something. So I'll have to dive in. It's also my birthday. So,
Aquarius on the list.
Pisces. I'm
So
an
happy
Anne.
birthday.
Thank you.
Coming up.
28th. Very last one. Alright, so this is where we part ways. You guys can ask me a million questions. Obviously, I'm going to collect devices. You do not get to take them home. My hope here was that you learned that ghost hunting isn't always a scary thing, and that it's all about the history. Because if you don't know the history, you don't know shit. Like these TV shows kill me because all I'm learning from them are their methods. Because obviously, as a writer, I dive into the research. And again, you guys gave me terms tonight. I'm like, I gotta look into that. I don't know what that is. That's really, that could be this. So I'm gonna dive in. If it's relevant, obviously you'll have all those backlinks tomorrow. I'm usually done with your data by noon. So if I'm not done by noon, that means I'm researching a little bit further. And yes, I'm only gonna go